In fact, I did the map bans for JFC's game, and I was correct. Valkyrie's going to go ahead and ban out Coastline immediately, which is funny because they've played it and they've looked okay on it, but they don't want to deal with it right now. Mirage Scout's banning Bank. That makes sense. Bank, not a lot of teams have wanted to go to, not even in T2 and not even in T1. Unfortunately, the rest of the fun maps are also banned. And Connor,
Harrison, we cannot escape it. We can not.
We're cursed.
Escape it.
We're cursed.
Yep. The players will at me on Twitter and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. We keep on bringing you to Oregon. I'm so sorry. I'll change it up next time." Then they blatantly lie. They lie.
Some like witch doctor cast a voodoo spell on us or something, because Oregon is just, it's inescapable. Someone's got like what are those dolls of us? They're just chucking them into Oregon constantly.
Not a goo goo doll, a voodoo doll.
That almost rhymes.
Yeah, it almost does. Just like rhyming with our most said phrase so far. Oregon, Boregan, Snoregan. I don't want to cast it anymore again. Please end my eternal suffering. The last part doesn't rhyme, but it's a very apt feeling in my soul right now. So yes, Oregon. Very, very fun.
Abhorrigan.
It is indeed abhorrent. So
I'm trying to think of other words.
We can cast it with our eyes closed, Oregon, because we know how things are going to go. Unless Mirage Scouts have really been chefing it up. The only Mirage Scouts games that I have casted so far have all been on Chalet. So I guess it's a very drastically different play style to what we would see on something like Oregon. It's a lot more grounded. So
it tends to be a little less creative. Not as Oregon is definitely not as complex as Chalet is. Shield play to deal with on Oregon. So I don't expect this match to be too one-sided, as Oregon is considered to be similar, in a similar vein to Clubhouse, in a similar vein to like old Oregon or old Border back when they were in the map pools. This map is tends to be an equalizer. All teams should be familiar with Oregon. Flores is going to be the first ban from Valkyries. Makes sense. Flores is a very popular operator on this map.
Populator.
Listen. It was a clever portmanteau that was totally on purpose. Flores deals with the shields aptly. I mean, it's real quick. His only counter is mute. But in banning the Flores, you make that shield play a little bit stronger. And considering Valkyrie starts on the defense, that's understandable. Usually it goes hand in hand with the Wamai ban, though. But Mirage are going to take the risk. They're going to say, no, we'd rather take Mira off the board. We're going to leave it up to Valkyries. Are Valkyries going to leave the Wamai up, make the shield play even stronger for themselves and try and rack up the score on defense? Or are they going to make their second half a little bit less one-sided? They could go ahead and ban the Valkyrie if they wanted to, and it will end up being that Valkyrie.
Valkyries ban Valkyrie. That's something I didn't really expect to see, but when you think about how strong the Navy SEAL woman is, flexing like Rosie the Riveter, more so flexing the ability to just have those cams all over the place and feeding intel the defensive side. It's not fun to deal with a Valkyrie. It's very much not fun. So that indeed makes sense. It makes roams so much more potent. And when you're dealing with complex utility setups where you have to burn, get rid of shields, blah, 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 you don't necessarily want to have to displace your crosshair too much to like a random corner in a room, looking for blue lights all over the place. So it makes sense. But as the Valkyries start on the defense, they'll be going upstairs to dorms and games, the old main hall, with a little bit of a utility setup, a lot of bulletproof gadgets being employed by Valkyries, mainly those Melusi Banshees with those Maestro bubbles. That'll have to be something like an Ash Charge, a Gon 6 shot, and most likely, more than anything, the nades that Mirage Scouts are definitely bringing to the table. 6, in fact, because Finka did receive her nades back, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so they can be bringing 6 with 6 burn, which is quite an interesting lineup, but sometimes we have seen it can be difficult to get rid of Maestro bubbles, those cams with nades. You got to cook them perfectly, get them right up next to it, as opposed to something like an Ash Charge or a Zofia lifeline launcher. That makes a lot easier work, but we'll have to see if Mirage Scouts have that necessary skill.
Although, Iana has a Gon 6.
Iana does.
Finka
and I believe that
also has a Gon 6.
Finka can as well.
Yep. Finka can bring a Gon 6 if she likes. There's really no reason not to. So hopefully Cavi is bringing that utility. I like this Resurgence. Get it? Resurgence, because it's an adrenal boost surge.
Yeah, it is. A round of applause.
Thank you.
For Witty Man.
Thank you. I do like the rise of Finka. I think she's a very interesting operator with some very interesting dynamics, especially with the defense. You know, she's not unstoppable, but she definitely fills you with confidence, right? She's an operator that almost works a little bit like how we see Lion being played on Villa, right? When you see a Lion on Villa, that means this attacking team is going to be clearing hard and fast, and they do not want to stop. Finka is a little bit of a similar vein. When you don't need that hard flank watch, though, you can bring that Finka, and that means you are going to be in the defenders' faces. It gives your team confidence, and any entry player will tell you that 65, 70% of winning your gunfights is about confidence and believing you're going to hit the shot when you swing.
Yeah, and for the side of Valkyries, we aren't really familiar with deep roam setups from them. It's typically Zeal on a solo roam on that patented Melusi that she's currently bringing to the table. So as long as they cut a couple of rotations, mainly from this main, you know, meeting hatch up inside of Attic, they can hold a lot of various angles. But Val is holding a very interesting one. Down goes Monster Girl from the kid's window. Peeking Satellite, which was just not the play. Really well done by Val with that SMG-11 to get the first pick for the side of the defense. And now as there's more and more utility growing, Psyche on the Wamai aging like a fine wine, getting more and more magnets as the clock continues to dwindle down into the favor of the defense, is going to be more and more difficult to try to get her out of this position. Well, but instead, she shows her leg and gets completely obliterated, making all of my points mute.
Well, you know,
and now it's
I can't blame you. It should have been difficult in theory, but Cavi is, of course,
that shield is interesting. That shield's
Finka, right? Finka is kind of like, it can also act as that Ying, right? It's that wedge. Fills you with confidence. You got that extra HP. You walk in and take those gunfights. Also, you know, depending on who you ask, the recoil buff can be both helpful or harmful. Cavi will end up getting a second kill and a third as she just continues peeking on through, ripping off heads everywhere she looks. There's no cover on the plant, though, and Bear swings for two. She'll be traded out by the Hibana, and there's still plenty of time for the attackers to work with. Ancient One going to be covering through the breach. She'll land one, but not the second. Cassie cleans up, ensuring the round doesn't spiral out of control because of that Jaeger. Mirage Scouts still able to take round number one.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. They had me in the first half, not gonna lie, as soon as, you know, Psyche didn't react to the violent speed and momentum of the Attic push. I was like, oh, it's done. And then Bear came in with a gigantic momentum play, a well-timed swing right in front of the breach that was open. Some cojones being shown, and it definitely panned out as she picked up essentially two kills and left it in a 1v1. But Cassie was still feeling confident. She was holding down Trophy. Just walked on in, got the final kill, an easy round for Mirage, even though it was a little bit close. The return to Dorms Hall is something that I actually usually don't I usually hard disagree with. I don't like repeating sites. I like to see teams progress through their rotation, so then it's a lot more difficult for the attackers to make any slight adjustments. But for the side of Valkyries, considering that they were able to kill a lot of time, their util setup wasn't horrible. Maybe they're feeling, and I can kind of agree with, if Psyche inside of Attic is able to, you know, just go 1-for-1, or actually go up and take a gunfight, get some damage off, try to kill a little bit more time, that possibly and very potentially the round could have swung into their favor.
Yeah, definitely. So I agree with you. I do like the decision to come back here. There were definitely a couple little holes in Mirage's attack, but hey, they might be shoring up those holes just as Valkyries tries to exploit them. I know one of those being the Nomad on Highway. I know I certainly wouldn't be expecting Val to be peeking that as the smoke, but I mean she'll be aware of that. I mean
that's a freebie. You never played Smoke on Oregon. That's a freebie.
Really?
Yeah, that's a.
I just don't expect people to be turning their back on Highway like that.
She caught her hopping out the window.
Well, I mean, like, on old Oregon, yeah, because, like, those windows were there, right? So you'd always see people burning through those windows, but it's not there anymore. Like, I mean, yeah, you got that small window, but you can't see that from the kid storms.
Yeah, I mean, she just hopped out and was going to go to attic window, try to apply a little bit more pressure from a different angle as opposed to full funneling across. But
Yeah.
hey, it didn't work. She got cut down by Val. So yes. But now as the Mav work has been done by Tabby, opening up a pathway into attic, this very north to south sided push for Mirage is slowly coming to more fruition. The typical master attic split is just once again, it's coming true. Psyche on dip, she's the first line of defense for Valkyries. She's gonna have to try to get a little bit aggressive, be a little bit more confident. She's got the AUG, a very powerful attacker rifle in the hands of the defender, where you can play range and still provide a lot of damage down range, especially with the deep angle that she's currently holding. If you drop dip, you're going to have to deal with both the Zeal and Psyche holding down that drop. But just as much so, Trophy, as the burns coming through, nades will probably fly from Cassie's hand, as Bear could try to go for a flank, but she needs to time it properly.
And the Mirage players are able to get into pit with really no contention, though Val is going to get the first kill on Cassie, one of those trophy players. Now one of your main entries, as well as those nades, all that good info that Iana can gather is gone. Must have been a nice shot as she pays kudos to it in chat. And now Mirage is at the disadvantage by one woman. Not too big of a deal, though. It's still 50 seconds, and a one-man disadvantage is not the biggest thing in the world. They do have full control of attic, but they're a little bit bottlenecked. There's what? 3 people in here? If I'm not mistaken, yeah, the Maverick, the Smoke, and the Finka. Or sorry, Maverick, the Nomad, and the Finka. As the Finka hits the floor, no more of those boosts. Monster Girl is just planting. Val is going to attempt to swing, but there's the cover. That is what we were missing in the previous round. Victoria, now properly placed on the breach, cuts down the Smoke. Now it's a 3 versus 4. Still a disadvantage for the attack, but the clock is now working in the attacker's favor. Monster Girl gets 1. Another kill coming from Tabby inside of attic. It's all Zeal now. She's able to climb 1 back for herself, but it's still a 1 versus 2, and she's got about 20 seconds to play with. 10 seconds for each kill. 1 is on the breach. 1 still tucked over towards attic. Mirage are holding a pretty neat crossfire right now, and as Zeal exposes herself trying to take 1 fight, Tabby shoots her in the back, and that's a 2nd round in a row for the attack.
Yeah, really well done. Cleaned up a lot of the potential issues where that was kind of what I was alluding to with the attackers being able to make slight adjustments. They're not going to, it's one of those things that they have to have very short memories to think about exactly what was going on in the round. They're like, okay, yeah, let's take mental stock. There was a shield here, a shield there, a couple of burns, and we got attic for relatively free. And we can get that free plant as long as our breach coverage is a lot stronger. That was the biggest adaptation for Mirage, was Victoria playing her role perfectly to a T. She dotted her I's as well as put the cross for him. And can't swing out on games. That shouldn't be able to happen. In that time, she didn't. Plant went down. Post plant, every angle was held perfectly, and they won an easy round.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Huge highlight was the play by Victoria. Valkyries definitely fought back towards the beginning of the round, especially with the pit take not going nearly as planned for Mirage. The Finka not able to wreak havoc like she was in the previous rounds, but it was just that plant on the cover that really did them in. Really good post-plant positions as well for Mirage. Valkyries, good attempts.
Nice and passive enough. It was more so that they just covered all their bases.
We're holding the crossfires, not overextending. And while it was a decent attempt for Valkyries, it was not enough. And now we're going down to the basement. I agree. You've tried one site twice, hasn't worked. You definitely want to switch it up. That is an interesting shield.
5 seconds to go.
That tells me they're probably full reinforcing freezer.
Attacker's objective is to locate the bomb.
Most likely, which for Mirage, they have noticed that when certain places are fully reinforced, i.e. attic, that they can take it for free, and how the initial push is shaping up, some over towards Junkyard and some towards main. It is starting to scream that they're going for a freezer main. That's going to be their main.
Oh, no, it's
actually,
open.
No, the wall is open.
Huh,
we got head holes. We got a Rooney gates.
So if they go for a freezer take, that shield is useless.
Maybe.
Unless the person, maybe they're playing far back.
Hey, maybe you can do the transformer setup.
Like
as soon
box?
As you can pick up Goyo shields.
That is true.
They're dynamic. I know a lot of teams have started doing that as soon as it's like one or the other. You can have your hybrid, more than meets the eye kind of setup. that you can move, almost having like 2 different phases. But right now, the initial phase is some aggression on the side of Bear, still sitting up top, trying to roam over towards the bathroom hall, maybe potentially get a kill onto Cavi. If the drone work is not perfect, they might not know that she's in this precarious situation, but as the drone is in the drone hole, they seem to lock down the fact that she's in kitchen and she's getting pinched from both sides.
Yeah, Bear should probably not be very long for this world. As you said, there's 1 coming from green, 2 coming through the doorway, and it's Cavi. Very early pick onto said roamer. Though, well, I said early pick, but it's actually been about a minute and a half. So, realistically, Bear has actually done a pretty decent job. Like, she died as soon as she was spotted out, but it did take a minute and a half for her to get spotted out and get to that point. So, Mirage, they're only opening E-Box hatch. I mean, this is probably going to get open with a minute 10, yeah, left on the clock.
Do you know what the biggest thing is, Harrison? Guess another op that gets better as the time dwindles would be Vol on the smoke.
Yeah.
And Mirage have been using the Finka to go towards their executes, where if you don't know that interaction, you take twice as much smoke damage.
Yep, because you breathe faster.
You breathe faster with those nano bots. But as Tabby's going to take down Zeal, down goes your Malusi, and one of the Nitros is the one from the Goyo's pocket, will not bear any fruit on the damage side. But now, it's just an absolute slaughter. In comes Cassie and Tabby from the backside. Red ping's going through, and an attempted hold of the Alamo inside of Freezer will come to naught. Flawless round for Mirage. Their flood was perfect, their roam clear was great, and their scoreline, like the flood, is also perfect. 3-0.
It seemed like the more we mentioned the remaining utility for Valkyries, the less it started to matter, as Mirage pushed from pretty much every side simultaneously, right? They had the 2 people coming in from laundry, completely ignoring the gas canisters, 2 people coming in from over towards the freezer side of things, and Tabby with a perfectly timed E-Box drop, catching Valkyries from the back, where they least expected it. Really good flood by Mirage. Was not expecting it to go that smoothly. And although the Finka was down, she was not finished off, so technically, it was a flawless round. And Valkyries are going to go back down to laundry. Now, at this point, you can make an argument for both sides of the coin. Yes, they just lost it pretty handily. It was not close. They also
lost top floor pretty handily.
But they also lost top floor twice. So, do you go back down to a primary site that, sure, you just lost handily, but you should be confident in? Or do you take the risk of going to a tertiary site first? You know, you can make an argument for both. Valkyries just happen to be comfortable with the former.
Yeah. For the side of Valkyries, their roam wasn't horrible. We were saying how much time that was killed by Bear, just roaming around, just running around, making sure that she was undroned all the way till her bitter end and demise inside of kitchen. But half the round taken for 1 player from a full 5-woman roam clear on the side of Mirage is it's not too shabby. But on the flip side, Mirage showed that they can still feel just as comfortable as the time starts crunching. That flood towards the backside, they had all the utility in the world for Valkyries, but they just couldn't overcome the pressure that was applied from multiple sides. There was backside pillar rush, there was main pressure, there was freezer. It was everything, and it can get overwhelming really quickly. And for Valkyries, they can have it. They can have all the utility, but if it gets spread too thin, it's not decisive enough of a punch either way to knock Mirage off guard.
And once again, Valkyries aren't playing a super aggressive game. They're just allowing Mirage in the building. And Mirage have been very quick with their takes. I mean, you see Cavi and the entries are playing right behind these drones. She's off the Finka, which, I'm going to be honest, the Finka did great work in round number 1 and hasn't really done much since, so I definitely understand the play. She'll take some pre-fire pot shots over towards Ancient One's position on top freezer. Neither player will land any, and Bear this time, instead of overstaying her welcome, is going to fall back down towards tower. She knows how that clear went. She knows that, you know, at the most, she'll probably go 1 for 1 and figures that her life is more valuable on the site.
Yeah. A minute and 40 down. Not too shabby, but for Valkyries, they're going to have to get a frag at some point to try to stop the momentum of Mirage. And the main one is going to be over towards Freezer Stairs. But Cavi comes out on top. Ancient One relegated to Cam's duty. 5-1 for Cavi. Definitely feeling her entry self with that G36. Ashe, going fast, still brings a good amount of utility for things like Goyo shields and Melusi's, which we definitely see prevalent on the Valkyries utility side. As there's a little bit of trouble opening up the E-Box hatch, there's not really a whole lot of contention of it from Valkyries, so it will eventually get opened. That's how the world is going to work. But most of the sort of attention of the defenders is definitely over towards Freezer and Main. That's where two members of Mirage are coming in. They're trying to take a fight over towards the rotate hole. Psyche taking some damage, but now she just has to play passive as the Aruni Gate is reactivated.
I think Psyche was actually not taking the fight, but she was going for the reactivation. They're not overexposing herself. Now, luckily, she's not dead. She still persists, but as Tabby finds a nade kill, that makes the situation a little bit worse for Valkyries. Monster Girl allowed in because no one's playing in box. Right for the plant. Tabby taken down. Another one for Psyche, but the plant is still completed. And now it's a 3v3. Even man count. Here comes the Nomad swinging aggressively off the case drop. Down goes Psyche. Now the advantage swinging in the attacker's favor. Val attempting to pinch over towards the washing machines. She'll send out a smoke grenade to choke off the Nomad and force her forward. But Zeal is not able to capitalize, at least not yet. Now inside a box, Val finds one into Freezer, but now it's just her alone in a 1v2. Cavi and Monster Girl holding a crossfire. She's got to choose which fight to take. She'll land a beautiful shot onto Cavi, but Monster Girl still covering her teammates across, finds the finisher, and it is another round in a row for Mirage.
And that makes 4. And on your defensive side of Oregon, it's not a fun position to be in. Mirage are exuding all of the confidence in the world. They're swinging everything. They're taking everything on the map, every single avenue into the bomb site, where it just feels suffocating. It feels absolutely just oppressing. And once again, it's not a fun position to be in, where we would consider this map to be defender-sided. So with Mirage already getting 4 rounds, they're sitting pretty. They have already had the 3 scoops of ice cream, all the sprinkles, the chocolate syrup, and these final 2 rounds, these can be the final cherries on top to potentially a very dominant win if they play their cards right.
Yeah, typically on Oregon, if you see an attacking team take 5 rounds, it's wraps, right? It's kind of like, it's just nearly impossible to come back from, because it's not like the bans are super in favor of one team or the other, right? Valkyrie,
they're pretty even.
Mira Valkyrie are 2 of the most common bans in the entire game. Not just on Oregon, but any map.
And Thatcher Flores. Flores definitely rising up in the ranks.
Yeah.
Because he's almost a substitute for Thatcher, where you can just bypass utility setups and still get rid of shields.
Yeah.
Where a Rotero drone will just destroy it. A EMP grenade will just disable it all and let you destroy the shield. They're both pretty much the same. So
yeah, I would say that a Flores ban is probably as good as a Valkyrie ban at this point. And I mean, right? We can count the maps on which Valkyrie and Mira are banned all the time. Chalet, Oregon, Club,
Coast.
When Consulate was in the pool, it was banned on Consulate. Bank now replacing it. It's banned all the time on Bank. It's banned on Cafe. It's banned literally everywhere. So you can't really make the argument that, oh, you know, these bans are in the favor of this side or whatever. It is right now, this match, I hate to say it, right now it's looking less attacker-sided and more Mirage-sided. And even more so as Tabby gets a very early kill onto none other than the Smoke.
Yeah, that's not a good one to go down, especially because Vol is the top frag on that hard support. But another one falls as Zeal gives up her life to the side of Monster Girl. Just pick after pick, just slowly poking and prodding the defense and picking up their freebies every which way is how the Mirage attack is going. A minute into the round, down goes the shield, down goes the burn, and down goes Ancient One as well, as Cavi's going to get another kill. Bear is off site, and Psyche is locked inside of Kids. She gets flanked from the attic rotate, and it's all Bear in a 1v5. Not a single point of damage has been done to a singular attacker, and Cassie with the bombs going up main as everything else is cut off. We'll eventually put this into a post-plant position, but that's if Bear doesn't get cut down by Cavi, or even Monster Girl playing Z. Didn't even see her there. That's how many attackers were left up for Mirage. Another clean kill and a perfect flawless round. Not one of the ones you see very often, but about as dominant as you can get.
Cassie is very upset that Monster Girl went kill hunting instead of allowing.
Hey, she still got her cost, so that's all that matters. You got the survivability.
All I'm saying is I know how that feels. I know how that feels. I pick up the diffuser almost by instinct, and if I'm mid-plant and my teammate gets the last kill on someone off-site, I'm very upset. But Mirage, I mean, that was clinical, right? Not only did they kill the smoke first, but when you have a Goyo shield and you have a trophy setup like that, it doesn't really matter when they just walk up main.
Or hit the up white into
Attackers need to
sight
locate and
maneuver.
defuse bombs.
Yeah, and they did both.
All at the same time.
So, Mirage has been, one of the most impressive things about this match so far has been the coordination and the timing from Mirage, because timing in Siege, timing is probably one of the hardest things in the game to get right. Like, bar none. Timing is very difficult because you not only have to account for your own teammates, but you have to account for what the enemy is doing as well. And whether by coincidence or not, Mirage's timing has been almost flawless, and Valkyries have yet to find a consistent answer. We have seen flashes of brilliance in a few of these rounds, but they haven't been able to close out. And this is their last opportunity to in this half. Otherwise, they'll forfeit a 6-0 defensive half on Oregon, and that is it's more than a death sentence. You're already dead at that point. You're getting buried.
Yeah, that is... You are down in the coffin, and about 15 minutes worth of shoveling dirt on you has already happened. You're pretty much almost all the way covered, and it just takes that final round on an area where you have to attack, which is just easier said than done. It is a lot easier.
Inserted into the furnace.
Yes.
When you're 6-0.
Mm-hmm. You've been put in the lion's den, and it would take a biblical miracle, haha, in order to save you.
You're in the midst of being bronzed.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what my dad says.
Interesting.
My
We're
dad
just gonna
says he
keep
doesn't
on bringing up medieval torture ways, but
no, my dad said when he dies, he doesn't want to be cremated. He wants to be bronzed and placed as a statue in the front lawn. But Bear is going to suffer a very early death at the hands of Monster Girl, and his Psyche takes out one. She gets caught mid-reload by Cassie. So although Mirage's entry is not as potent as it usually is, their trades are still on point. Zeal gets caught with a C4 in her hand. That is unlucky. And Val is just... Alright, Val's just waltzing around in the middle of the site, even though hatch control is not going her way. Ancient One will finally get one back for her team, cutting down Monster Girl, who is on a tear. 11-3 for her. But as she finds that kill, well, the attackers find the site, and they have full control. She landed a nice shot on a Tabby, who was already previously lit up, but as Victoria is getting this plant down, Cassie is left to cover. It doesn't look like there's anything Ancient One is going to be able to do about it. It's now a post-plant. The clock turns its sights towards the defense. Here's the entry from the K. The drone goes out. Ancient One is going to miss her shots, and as she throws another C4, Cassie will fell her, destroying not only the explosive, but the Kate's head as well. And it is a 6-0 half for Mirage.
Yep. 6-0.
Yikes.
That is a certified yikes moment. However, obligatory statement of just as easily that Mirage got a 6-0, maybe Valkyries can too. There's still a light at the end of the tunnel. We don't want to fully discount them. But I would say that right now, they're down at the bottom of the mountain, and it's looking like Everest, where for the side of Mirage, they have almost reached the summit.
1G?
Yes. Summit 1G. Playing
Cavi's...
Foxhole currently.
Cavi is on Oh. Oh? Yeah!
Cavi on the Caviera.
Rook Warden Cav.
Glad we did not see the clash, but...
What is going on?
You know, back earlier when I said that Mirage are exuding confidence, they might just be exuding arrogance at this point.
Ooh.
Will they fly too close to the sun and have their figurative wings, the wax, melt? Probably not, if we're going to be honest. However, there's a chance. The door is not fully shut. It is slightly cracked, and it is up to the Valkyries' attacks to bring their steel-toed boots and try to kick it down.
Yeah, I will just give them the word of warning not to get too over-aggressive, because cockiness can kill teams. I'll attempt to be the Daedalus to their Icarus, but who knows? Monster Girl is spawn peeking as Rook, which you kind of expect as Rook, because he has a 2x. The rest of Mirage, pretty much on the site with the exception of the Caveira, because of course Caveira is going to be off-site. I have never seen a Cav play on the site in comp because, well,
you're not trying hard enough. You haven't been down in the trenches enough.
Yeah, I mean, I've impact tricked with Cav on site before, but I mean that's
I've seen it happen. You know, you're the one making the rotates, and Monster Girl's the one making the entryway as a beautiful shot, not with the Rook Hollow that you love, but with the Rook 2.0 dropping down Vol.
Leave me alone.
She could swing out and get another one, but the Buck of Bear will get the better of her. Once again, flying too close to the sun. But Cabby is still on the prowl. Bear's holding this flank that most likely will come through. It'll be up to Cabby and the drone work of the rest of her team to find out this final Roman. Everybody else is pretty much on site. Cassie slowly making her way up a staircase, playing over towards main, but still playing a little bit more reserved for the rest of the team. Air jabs cutting off alternate flanking avenues that probably Tabby would like to go for. But look at where Cabby is. She is in the heart of the attack. Everybody around her is an enemy, and that could be a blessing or a curse.
Yeah, there's a drone standing in front of her, but it is not on. Now it is. The attackers know she's there, and she will be a thorn in their side. Also, Bear holding flank as Buck. You know what that reminds me of?
Nomad on Nomad.
No, it reminds me of Bear holding flank as Buck, except the CL Bear.
Ah, Guy on a Bear.
Guy on a Bear. Shout out. Miss him already. But as the map is going for the hatch, I guess they just forgot about the Cav. Easy interrogation onto Ancient One. Nothing to stop her. There's the detection. The Nomad spotted as well. Cabby still loses the fight, but Tabby will capitalize and get the trade. 3 versus 2 now. They know exactly where the Nomad and the Ace are coming from, or at least they should have some good idea. Here's a C4 being sent over the locker, unfortunately for Victoria. That'll be a bit of a misthrow, but Tabby on the flank cuts down 1. The Cade sprints right into the waiting arms of Psyche. She'll have a single kill for herself, but is it going to be enough to stop the 7-0? No, it will not. Cassie, as the Warden, will end the match in a very smartly dressed fashion. And, well, that is a 7-0, one of the most dominant 7-0s that I have seen.
Interesting, interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this lineup.
New.
In my entire life. But hey, now that that's the first time I've ever seen it, you know, the Cav, Rook, Kaid, Wamai, and Warden has an 100% win rate in my heart on a defense. So take notes. That's all you need to do to win. Statistics are always law, and correlation does equal causation.
That's true. That is exactly right. That's why there's Finland may or may not exist.
And also, that's why higher sales of ice cream cause murders. I think it's my favorite correlation to equal causation, because ice cream sales are higher in the summer and with more free time. That is also where crime is at its highest. So ice cream causes murders.
Yeah. That's because it's easier to get away during the summer, right? You got to worry about snow in the winter. But congratulations, Mirage. 7-0. That was quite the statement. And Valkyries, unfortunately, still... they're not totally unsuccessful. They have a couple of wins under their belt, but I don't know how the standings work out. I don't know at what point teams can no longer make playoffs. This is what, week 6? How many weeks?
I don't want to get too cynical. Well, we can crunch those numbers.
I love being
later.
cynical.
Hey.
Come on, Connor. I'm always the negative one. You gotta be my Jonah. You gotta be my
positivity. Am I gonna radiate
positivity? You gotta be my proton to my electron. But
I like being a neutron, though. I'm very in the middle.
All right. Well, I guess we'll be negatively ionic in that case. But, you know, bright spots. Mirage. Excellent work. Coordination was on point. Timing was on point. The Finka play. Finka play was actually pretty decent in the couple rounds they used it. There were a couple rounds where she was a little bit ineffectual, but for the most part, the utility play was actually really well done. But that's going to do it for this match. It was a quick one. Hope you enjoyed it. But we got one left. I don't remember what the match is. I know it is Goo Goo Dolls versus Talentless. Oh, another top team versus a rather unsuccessful team. But hey, hopefully that's a little bit closer. Any given Thursday. And we will be right back. Stay tuned. We'll be back in about 10 minutes.